The ability to make choices and author your own narrative is part of what makes video games so special, and 2023 has been an excellent year for player choice thanks to some fantastic RPGs, one of which may go down in history as one of the most reactive games of all time. But if I had to pick a single defining decision from 2023, a choice that would stick with me for years, one that had me questioning every little moment before and after it, there is only one game and one moment that comes to mind.
Big thank you. Really. Thank you for being here.
Just a little more. Okay, your turn. It's ready for the access codes.
Every line of dialogue, set piece, and quest is carefully building towards this moment. There isn't a right or wrong answer. You have to trust your gut and the people involved. When I finally got to this point, I had no idea what to do. 2023 was a big year for Cyberpunk. The 2.0 update brought with it revamped skill trees, improved AI, vehicle combat, and so much more. And a few weeks after 2.0, we got Phantom Liberty, a spy thriller expansion set in a new district of Night City. Our reviewer Michael Hyam gave Phantom Liberty the coveted 10 out of 10 for its fantastic story and incredible characters. While I wholeheartedly agree with his review, I wanted to give a little extra love to Phantom Liberty's big, difficult decision. So before we get any further, this is your obligatory spoiler warning. If you haven't finished Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, bookmark this video and come back later. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. The moment in question is when you're forced to side with either Solomon Reed or Songbird. After infiltrating Kurt Hansen's compound with Reed and Alex, you join Songbird to either help her escape or help Reed capture her. Songbird wants to be free of the government's control and influence, but Reed is afraid that if she escapes, she'll be hunted for the rest of her life. Everyone involved has good intentions, at least they believe they have good intentions, and as V, you're caught in the middle. Do you help Songbird or do you help Reed? When I asked Phantom Liberty's director, Gabe Amatangelo, how you make a decision like this so difficult, he boiled it down to one thing.
It's all about empathy. Make sure you've got the aspects to be like, okay, I can understand their perspective. Make sure you've conveyed Reed's perspective. Make sure you've conveyed Songbird's perspective.
Creating empathy for fictional characters is easier said than done. As Gabe points out, you need to establish a character's perspective and give the player enough to latch onto. When you throw in the themes of a spy thriller where you aren't supposed to trust anyone, this job gets even harder. Manipulation and lies come with the territory, and both Songbird and Reed are guilty of both. Despite this, it's hard not to empathize with them. Both characters share a bit of their backstory with you, they tell you about their dreams and aspirations, and they feel earnest. They feel like real people trapped in an unwinnable situation. And to be honest, it's hard not to empathize with characters who are struggling.
This spot. Didn't pick it at random, I guess.
Guessed right. Wanted to show you something. Means a lot to me. Could help put some things in perspective.
Of course, the writing isn't the only part of it. Let's not discount Idris Elba's and Minji Chang's incredible performances. The two of them embodied these characters. Their line delivery, acting chops, and animations all played a role in this difficult decision. But Gabe also makes an important distinction in his interview. Good characters are flawed. This is character writing 101, but I feel like this is easy to overlook, especially when games are typically built around a power fantasy.
If you're leaning towards them a little bit too much, like show their darker side, right? Like show like, okay, why is it that they are not black or white? Why is it that they're gray? Show a little bit of that other aspect and make sure that it's there leading up to that decision so that the player has it all refreshed in their head.
It's hard to empathize with a character that's perfect. Everyone has a character flaw, and if that's not represented in fiction, how are we supposed to empathize with them? There are exceptions, sure, but for a game like Cyberpunk that sets out to create grounded and believable characters, those flaws are critical. Think back on Reed. He's a strong, confident character. He's deliberate, and he commands whatever room he's in. But he's overbearing, he has a savior complex, and he has a hard time trusting people. But a key part in making that decision so difficult is by further complicating things leading up to that pivotal moment.
I have a plan in place for when we secure the neural matrix. I'll hack the local net, override its defense systems, turn the whole stadium hostile. We'll slip out in the chaos.
But how many would die?
They'll die so we can survive. Live.
Right before the big decision, you're hit with a conundrum. If you help Songbird, you'll be putting everyone in the vicinity at risk. Before this moment, I was leaning towards Songbird, but this complication made me stop and think.
We put in that situation where V's like, so what's the plan, Somi? What happens? And it's like, yeah, so, gonna do a mass shutdown of the stadium. And it's like, well, isn't there like civilians here? Isn't something gonna happen? And she's like, and then she like dismisses you, right? And it's like, okay, like, wait, like she's a bit unbalanced too. They both are. And it's like, this is fucking tragic.
Now there is one other factor here, and that's consequences. CD PROJEKT RED has a track record with difficult decisions and bittersweet consequences. Historically, when CDPR puts a difficult decision in your lap, you know that there will be a believable and sometimes unpleasant outcome. Some outcomes could dramatically alter the course of the story. The same is true for this decision in Phantom Liberty. Whoever you side with, the final few hours are radically different. Helping Songbird leads you to Night City Spaceport, and helping Reed takes you to an abandoned Militech bunker. And as you'd expect, there isn't a correct ending. Both feel bittersweet and both feel authentic. Even after you've made your decision, these characters continue to share more about who they are and where they came from. And brilliantly, if you decide to side with Reed, you learn more about Songbird's childhood, making your decision even more painful. And all of this brings me back to empathy. Almost everything leading up to and after this big decision is designed to instill empathy. Nearly every scene, line, and action strengthens your relationship with these characters. Even if they do something you might disagree with, you can at least understand their reasoning.
I know what I've done. Know the price I've paid. What you don't know is how sorry I am. How much it all hurts.
So me.
2023 was a year packed with RPGs, many of which featured big narrative decisions. Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, and Lies of P to name a few. But these games had a very different approach to their decision-making. Baldur's Gate 3 is about making decisions that define your character. Starfield's decisions lie in how you choose to explore that universe and who you decide to help and recruit. Lies of P's decisions directly factor into the game's ending and how certain NPCs might treat you. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, though, tries to make that one big decision as hard as possible by endearing you to its fantastic characters.
I think I'll find it all somewhere between the ice and fire, 'cause it's all I'm ever thinking.
Don't do this often, I'm guessing.
Busted moves. I can't say I do. What gave it away?
Wasn't thinking of dancing, but never mind.